Hello, welcome to Grace in Motion's ministry. We believe that as Christians, the greatest blessing that we could possibly obtain is the blessing of grace. We also believe that if you are a Christian, you have to be a warrior, because this is a warfare. Now, our objective is to highlight just that, our Christian warriors. You see, there are many people who have been given responsibilities, given missions, given callings, very interesting, life-changing callings. And they are not only carrying out those responsibilities in one hand, in the other, they're actually carrying the torch of spirituality and Christianity. You see, heroes are what we look for all the time. We look for it often in the echelons of the rich and famous. But you know what? If we would just look around us, heroes are everywhere. They're in our homes. They're on our jobs. They're actually in our associations. I'm here today because I'm in the presence of a Christian hero. He's a very good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, he is my speech coach. He's also an entrepreneur. His business is entitled Wiseman International Seminars. And he has already authored a book. He's a motivational speaker. He speaks all across the nation. I am so proud to have him as a friend, one, two, to have him here to represent a Christian hero. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend, Al Wiseman.
Hey.
How are you tonight, Al?
Good, thanks.
Good,
Good to be here.
Al, I really mean that. You are a hero to me. I mean, since I've met you, your energy, your persistency, your dedication. I've gone to many of your speeches, and just, you know, the glow that you put out and touch the hearts of people is a hero because it's a healing process. Al, let's get started here. The first question I have for you is, you own a company entitled Wiseman International Seminar. Please share with us exactly what that company represents, one. Two, what type of audiences do you communicate with, and what is the message all about?
Okay. Wiseman International Seminars is my company, which I started back in 1994. And we do a variety of seminars and workshops. I do a series of small business development workshops with people in the community, how to start and run a small business, how to market a small business, how to price your products and services. Also, the inspirational, motivational phase of that is I'm also a motivational keynote speaker. So companies, organizations hire me to come out when their workforce and their management or students, in the case of colleges and universities, or staff need just a dose of inspiration and motivation just to help them through their everyday life.
Okay.
So I've got a certain set topics that I talk about when I go into organizations and speak to those companies.
Okay. Al, how long have you actually been in this company, one, two, and how long have you been motivational speaking?
Yeah, it's interesting. I started this company in '94 when I left corporate America. It's always been my dream to have my own company.
Absolutely.
And when I started, initially I was doing small business seminars and workshops. So I did not start out as a motivational speaker. And that's an interesting story.
Okay.
But what happened is I started out giving small business workshops and seminars in the community. And people would always ask me, as I started to market myself as a speaker and trainer, people would always say, I need a motivational speaker. We're looking for a motivational speaker. And I would always give that business to friends of mine who were motivational speakers. And I knew they were motivational speakers because it said so on their business cards, right? So here I am, a struggling entrepreneur, and really did not need to give away that business, but I never considered myself as a motivational speaker. And then I think about in 1995, three things happened. I had three different speaking engagements. The first one, a good friend of mine in the community asked me to speak to an elementary school PTA. So I said, who's going to be in the audience? He said, elementary school students, teachers, and parents. I said, wow, you talk about the whole spectrum here. So that was a tough audience.
Absolutely.
Another one was a good friend of mine who's also a fellow Toastmaster asked me to speak to her youth leadership group. And then finally, a corporation asked me to give a motivational speech to their salespeople. So what happened is through all three of those instances, I started to see that people were hungry for motivation. They were hungry for an inspirational message. So that kind of led me to, Spirit just said to me, you need to be motivating people when you speak. So
Okay,
it
very,
kind of
very
eventually
good.
grew into it. Yeah.
Right, right. Now, Al, I'm a firm believer that, most persons don't just arrive somewhere. And I know that you and I've visited many of your speaking engagements, and one thing that you do that I really admire, and that is you know how to break the ice with people. And we talked about that just recently, I think yesterday or so. And what you do, you usually throw a little humor in, and what you usually say, now this is one of the angles you take, they love it. And you'll say, hey, I'm from Detroit, and anybody that's from Detroit, let me see by a show of guns. and everybody think that is so funny. Now, I know you're having fun and breaking the ice.
Yeah.
However, I guess my question is, Al, we're all inspired by our childhood, and I'd like to hear more about how was it being raised in Detroit, 1, 2, was there anything that actually happened, obstacles, challenges in your arena that inspired you to want to help other people, to motivate other people when they're at the bottom of their emotional plateau?
Yeah, I grew up in a neighborhood in Detroit called the North End. Inner city, typical middle class, blue collar, working neighborhood. I grew up with kids with names like Bunky, Oogie, Rocky, and Shane. And these were the girls, by the way. So to say it was a rough neighborhood was an understatement. But I think growing up in that kind of environment, it was just all about dealing with the hand that you were dealt, making the best of what you had. I wouldn't say that we were rock poor or anything like that, but just to be in that situation and to see a lot of people didn't make it out. I mean, they succumbed to drugs and peer pressure and things like that, the typical stuff. But I think to make it out of that and to start there and to be able to come from there, having a strong family and a strong Christian upbringing is an example, at least in my life, which knowing where I came from, I can share that with people. So that was kind of my inspiration, and knowing that I've been there, where I came from, you never forget where you come from. And so when you speak to people, you know that you came from humble beginnings, and literally you can do anything you want to do in your life.
Okay, very good, Al. Now I stepped out once before myself. Well, no, actually a few times, and I'm
stepping out right now, man.
Well, that is absolutely true. And this, I guess, I want you to kind of respond to the question I'm about to throw out concerning, there are a lot of people who actually are very excited about the concepts, the beliefs, the ideals that are in their heads, in their hearts. But for some reason, it can be a little intimidating stepping out there, walking away from what you have been used to, which is corporate America, or whatever it is you've done that guarantees you $1 or $2 as often as it comes. I'm interested, Al, in well, first of all, when did you step out on your own? What were you feeling? Were there any anxieties, any fear, and what was the determining factor or the straw that broke the camel back that says, you know what, I'm gone?
That's a very good question. But first of all, I will say everybody's not cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So the number one advice that I would give, and you hear it all the time, is don't quit your day job.
Okay, absolutely.
With me, at least, I had a lot of trial and error because even when I worked in corporate America, I had little business ventures on the side all along. I always had something going on the side.
Okay.
So the message is that it's good to have a secondary source of income, but try something on the side before you step out there full-fledged.
Okay.
And I've got a business background, I've got a sales background, which I think gave me a firm foundation. But what broke the straw that broke the camel's back was I went to see a movie, and this movie was in '92. It was out. It was a little distributed movie. It was about slavery in America, and the lead character in this movie, his name was Shango.
Okay.
And I identified myself in that character.
Okay.
And it was, to me, seeing those slaves on that plantation, I envisioned myself being on a corporate plantation.
Okay.
And I saw that movie, I think, on a weekend, and I went in Monday and I resigned.
Is that right?
Now, don't try this at home. First, I'm not advising anybody to try this. Because I had no plan, I had no savings, but it was just that, again, that straw that broke the camel's back for me. So it was a movie that really inspired me to step out there finally and pursue my dream.
Okay. Al, now, this is real important, and I'm under the impression if a person is going to step out and attack some of those goals and dreams that they have, it's very important that they have a support system. Do you have a support system? And if you do, tell us a little about what that consists of.
You know what? If I had to go back and change anything, it would be I would get a support system in place I would have had to put a support system in place a lot earlier on than what I did.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't know how I made it all of these years, just because when you're an entrepreneur, and I'm a speaker, so it's kind of a solo business. It's not like you have a store where you have employees. I literally work out of my home office. And it wasn't until last year where I really put a formal support system in place.
Okay.
And we did that in the sense that we developed what's called a mastermind group.
Okay, very good.
And if you read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, which is one of the books that inspired me, he talks about the concept of the mastermind group. And very simply put, it's getting people who are like-minded, who are in the same industry, maybe who have the same goal, the same vision as you, getting a group of people together to form a nucleus.
Okay.
Because in corporations, we have work groups and teams that work together. When you step out on, you don't have that. So you have to, in a sense, create that yourself. And you do that by forming a mastermind group. Our group we formed last year in January, it's called the Speakers Mastermind Group.
Right.
We started out with 25 of us. Everybody has the same dream and goal of becoming full-time professional motivational speakers and trainers. And we meet once a month to support each other and encourage each other to share ideas. And it is a beautiful thing. I mean, it is literally a support system in place. And I don't know how I went so long without it, Charlie.
Okay, that's wonderful. And you know, I read many years ago the concept as well. And I'm glad that I understood that a few years back entitled the Mastermind Alliances. But to be really honest with you, I had a dream once, Al, and this is very true. And this dream actually was with me holding hands with all of my closest buddies. And then for every moment, every time something occurred, one would drop off. The one who's most vulnerable. And then when times continued to come up that was troublesome, one more would drop off. And then at the very end, I had like the partner of mine who I was like, man, now this is my partner.
Right.
But the pressure got a little more intense.
Right.
Then I look and he was gone.
Right.
So I end up alone. But that's the beautiful thing, is knowing that you do have a group of people in place, which is what I have, and you actually as well, with a couple of more persons that I've been blessed with.
Yes.
Al, my next question for you is, I know if you have been in this arena for the number of years, which is what, 7, 8, how many is it?
About 8, since 94, about 8 years.
Okay, so evidently you have blessed and touched many lives. Give us a success story, something that may have occurred in one of your speeches that really touched someone who came and said, Mr. Wiseman, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da.
Yes. I did a speech a few years ago, and the speech was entitled The Eulogy.
Okay.
And it was a very dark speech. It was a heavy speech. I've only did it a couple of times, and I just can't do it. It's so, but basically in this speech, what I did is, I was the minister presiding over my own funeral. So I walked up to the lectern and said, you know, here lies our dearly departed Al Wiseman.
Wow.
And motioned as if that was me laying in the casket. And I went on to talk about my life and what I had achieved and what I had left behind and my legacy. So it was a very introspective speech to give, and it was tough to give too. I did that speech in a corporate environment, and a couple of days later, a friend of mine who was in the audience called me, and she said, you know, there was a lady who was sitting in an audience, and after hearing your speech, she took an early retirement.
Wow.
And come to find out, she had been wrestling with some things in her life, and hearing that speech, she said, you know, there's some things that I want to do in my life that this job is holding me back from.
Okay.
And looking and seeing the end, I want to step out, and the time is now to do those things. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to put it off any longer.
Okay.
So she made a determination right there that, look, I need to step out and do some things there. So it's just the kind of ideas, the inspiration that you can have on people when they hear you speak. It's just such a blessing.
Yeah,
it's
I can imagine. I can imagine. You know, and I guess it really takes a person, a warrior, a Christian associated with Christ himself, to actually be able to go that deep when it comes to messages, whatever the case may be. I'm interested, Al, in when did you discover the authenticity of your relationship with Christ? And also, how does that relationship benefit you as you strive to carry out the mission you've been called to carry out?
Yeah. I think as a kid you grow up in church and that, but it doesn't really resonate. But I think as you get older, as you have your own family, as you have children, you start to realize what God means in your life.
Okay.
And in my case, my belief and my faith, my Christian faith, is closely tied to what I do. Because I feel that what I do, as you said before, is a calling.
Yes.
So when I started speaking, I tie my faith into that this is a gift and this is a calling, and which is part of my mission, my God-given mission on here in this planet.
Okay.
So I would say I came into a real strong belief in the faith when I got this message or this calling to step out and speak to people and start talking to audiences. And the more you do that, the more you see how you have a God-given gift that you can exercise to reach people, the more it just puts you in touch with that Creator.
Okay, okay. And it sounds like it takes a lot of faith for that.
Yeah, certainly.
Al, what does faith mean to you anyway?
Faith to me really means, do you really believe? I mean, you could talk about a lot of things that you believe in, but when you look in that mirror and you can say, I really believe something deep down inside. I mean, do you really believe in God? Do you really believe in yourself? Do you really believe that He has called you to do something? I'm not talking about you got a feeling or an inkling.
Okay.
I'm talking about, do you really believe? And there was a point where the realization where I looked in that mirror and I had to ask myself, do you really believe this? Okay, so that's what faith is. It's just that deep down in the gut belief that, yes, I know that this is true. And I stand on this very firmly.
Wow, wow. And I guess being realistic about it, I know for myself, there have been times, through the course of life when you're on a mission and you're trying to accomplish specific things God has called you to accomplish. And challenges come, and sometimes the hills are so high, it's like, I can't climb that. And oftentimes it's like, what? Is it really worth it? Have I really been called to do this?
Yes.
Do you ever, have you ever felt that, is this truly a calling that I've been given, or am I misinterpreting something here?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because again, you can get into something and you can get to the point where you ask yourself that question. But for me, sometimes I feel like the analogy I would use is like Michael Jordan playing basketball. Nobody can deny that he has a gift.
Absolutely.
Nobody can deny that he was born to shoot ball.
Absolutely.
And when I'm out there speaking and rocking and rolling and doing what I'm doing, I feel like it's like, give me the ball. I'm ready to shoot the three.
Okay,
so it's like, I just feel so, and I've invested so much time in developing this skill and talent that I'm just so confident in it that nothing can shut me down, man.
Okay, so actually what we're saying is that it's not us, it's not God that's failing us, it's us failing ourselves. And we have to sometimes re-encourage ourselves that we have been called to do this thing based on the gift that we have within.
Yeah, that's right. But the other side of the coin is I think a lot of people haven't really discovered what their true gift is. But the biggest challenge is if you have a gift, and I'm blessed in the sense that I have a gift where I might be able to make this gift become part of my livelihood.
Okay.
Because you can have a gift, but can you earn a living doing that?
Okay.
I mean, not necessarily.
Okay.
But to have a gift where it also becomes one with what you can do as a vocation is a real blessing.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And and this is something that just popped in my mind. I'm kind of like coming out of the blue now, but it's all good because you're a professional. Now, I guess what I want to ask is, there's some people, Al, that have it just as difficult because not that they have one gift, they have too many.
Yeah.
What do people do when they're trying to juggle a lot of balls and end up not concentrating on the one gift that they really have been called to portray? How do they know which is which in your mind?
Yeah, there's a great book out by Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, The Chicken Soup for the Soul People.
Okay, yes.
And the title alone will give you a clue in the answer to that question. It's called The Power of Focus.
Okay.
The power of focus. We know when we spread ourselves too thin in too many areas that we're not going to be good in any of those areas.
Okay, okay.
So what you have to do is you have to figure out what area can I make the most impact in that doesn't take away from anything else, and you really have to concentrate on one. It's the old being a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Absolutely.
You just can't spread yourself too thin like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's take this on another angle. We're going to stay into the spiritual ramification for a moment, and then we're going to come out on some other things that I really want to know before our moment is over. Al, I know for myself, I need encouragement periodically, and sometimes we don't get that from each other because sometimes there's no one around. I remember when I was growing up, of course, I was taught a lot of stories from the Bible, and of course, I've learned a lot about many of the different characters in the Bible. And there is a specific character in the Bible that I've adopted because that person gives me encouragement. And I guess and the person I'm referring to, and a lot of people say, oh yeah, I remember that one, that's David. And the rationale for that is the fact that, in my understanding, David is actually a warrior that's growing, but yet he has run into some walls. And so therefore he have at times a process dealing with his holiness, but not his holiness. In other words, I heard this recently, it was beautiful, and that's why I had to throw it in here. He had problems periodically with his H-O-L-Y, but never problems with his W-H-O-L-L-Y. In other words, he was always diligent, always busy, always focused, but every now and then he stumbled. My question is there anyone in the Bible that you can actually relate to outside of the humanity of Christ that you say, you know what, I can relate to their story, I can relate to where they've been, and it gives me encouragement, and it helps me to move on?
Well, with the last name like Wiseman, you would think it would be Solomon, the son of David. But I won't go there.
The wise man, absolutely, absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
But I would have to say it would have to be the Apostle Paul.
Okay.
Just taking it back to the New Testament.
Okay.
I mean, Paul was just such a warrior.
Okay.
And he was so strong in his conviction and really able to stand up and speak out. I mean, he was really one of the first speakers, inspirational speakers with his sermons that really was able to articulate the Gospels, and in his struggles and his steadfastness and his determination.
Okay.
The Apostle Paul is just such a strong role model for anybody, I think, in the Bible.
Okay, very good. Al, what would you say your favorite scripture would be, and why?
Yeah. I often think, when we do what we do, I often think about the scripture when Jesus, I think it was Matthew, and when he told the parable of the talents, the parable of the talents. And without getting into it, the moral of that scripture is that each one of us as individuals have been given talents, certain gifts or talents. The master's gone away. When he comes back, you're going to have to account for those talents that you've been given. Okay. And certain people who've been given those talents, it's up to us to take those talents, exercise them, multiply them, take them to the marketplace, double, quadruple, get interest on those so we can pay the master back. Okay. And the worst one of those people who received the talents was the one that buried it in the ground, didn't do anything with it. That's a role model for my life. So in other words, I've been given what I feel is a gift or a talent, and it's up to me to take it and multiply that and to use it for the glory of God. Okay, very good. And let me ask you, Al, do you feel, and being an entrepreneur, you really have to be very diligent in everything that you do. You can't leave any stones unturned. Do you feel that you have actually turned over each and every stone needed to be turned over for you to be as successful as you want to be as an entrepreneur? I talked to a person this weekend who I consider to be a successful entrepreneur. And this person told me something. She said, in this day and age, with everything changing, she said, I'm throwing everything out the window that I did, and I'm starting all over. Okay. So I think we live in such a time where with the internet and the advancement of technology and markets are changing as such that, no, I haven't turned on every stone. Okay. I think that we constantly have to monitor the situation. We have to look at the business. We have to look at our industry. We have to look at the message that we bring. We have to look at our product, our packaging, all of that stuff. We constantly have to look at this and turn it over and tweak it and fine-tune it to get better and better as we go along. Okay. This is a very fluid business. Right. You're never going to stay the same as you was yesterday. Okay, so it's an ongoing process. Absolutely. Never get satisfied. Absolutely. Okay, stay hungry. Yeah, got to be hungry. Got to be out from concept to concept now, because I don't want to miss anything. You're also the author of a book. Tell us about that book. Who's it for? Right. I'm in the process of writing a book which I am very, very excited about. It's called 101 Ways to Stay Motivated. Okay. And what this book is about is this book takes 101 ways, literally, for you to keep yourself motivated, inspired, and encouraged. Okay. And each one of the ways, for example, start your own mastermind group is one of the ways. Okay. So under that, it'll have start your own mastermind group. It'll have a quote, a famous quote with somebody elaborating on that particular way. And then it'll go on to talk about how you can do this particular thing. And then it has some action items underneath there. Okay. So the concept of this book literally is for someone to take this book and to pick it up, 101 ways to stay motivated. And the subtitle is How to Keep an Upbeat Attitude in a Downsized World. Okay. Yeah, so it's all about pumping yourself up, keeping yourself motivated day in, day out as you go through life. And the ideal is you can flip to any one way, any one chapter, and just point your finger on it, and it should be something there as food for the soul to keep you motivated.
Okay. What if someone need 102? Not just they in trouble, huh? Need to go talk to somebody.
Call me. We'll talk about it.
I know.
It was hard to go at 101, man. I was struggling to do that, right?
I know. Absolutely. Okay, well, great, Al. Now, let me ask you this. Being a motivational speaker, you usually have a message, a specific message that you really, the message of all messages. What is Al Wiseman's message to those in a motivational setting?
Whenever I speak, and one of the reasons that I do this today is when I go and I talk to audiences and I look out there in the faces of those people in that audience, I see, number one, a hunger. People are looking and they're hungry. They're saying, feed us something. Tell us something that can encourage us and motivate us and get us through the next day. That's why Sunday is the biggest motivational speaking day of the year. Everybody all over the country go to get their weekly dose of motivation. But my main message would be, I also see in that audience, I see people that just aren't really living up to the true potential that they really have. You know, we have so much potential, Charles.
Yes.
We have each one of us, man, we have so much potential inside of us.
Yes.
My tagline of my company, Wiseman International Seminars, is helping you reach your full potential.
Yes.
So that's what my main message is all about, is if I can tell you something or say something or show you a way or share with you a thought or an idea to help you just gain a few more degrees of reaching the full potential that you have inside of you, then my job will be well done.
Absolutely.
It's all about helping people reach their potential.
Wonderful.
And showing them and letting them understand the potential that they really have.
Right. And that is the deepest thing that one could imagine, them acknowledging their potential. Because I think sometimes we underestimate ourselves at times. Quickly, Al, make it 45 seconds. I know, right? When you're a Toastmaster, you can do this. Al, if there's someone out there who's interested in stepping out, being an entrepreneur, what advice can you give them that would be most helpful?
I would say, first of all, is pull the trigger. In other words, just do it. At some point in time, Nike's got the slogan, just do it. I see so many people with good dreams and good ideas. In Atlanta, we're blessed because there's so many entrepreneurial development programs that you can go and educate yourself on how to start and run a business. But ultimately, it comes down to just stepping out there on faith and do it. At some point in time, you've got to step out there and make that first move and just do it. Take it from paper, take it from dream, take it from here, and implement that and take it to reality. You got to do it, man.
Wonderful.
You got to step out and do it.
Well, beautiful people, you've heard it from the professional, the Christian warrior. We just want to thank Al for coming in today. Most significantly, we want to thank you for allowing us into your home. And also, be mindful. We don't have to be rich and famous. All we have to do is be warriors for Christ. If you know someone who's a hero and you'd like to have them highlighted, please contact us. We will have all information on the screen below. Again, we thank you. We love you. We'll see you next time. My brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, man.